Automation is one of the key aspects of DevOps. Github Actions make this process super easy, so today I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you how to implement automation to your current project. The talk today is divided in three main parts. The introduction part, which includes the basic components of an action and what you should know before creating your first action, and also we will see a quick overview. After that comes the development part, where we will focus on creating our first Github action and a custom action. And in the end we will dive deeper into the workflow syntax and discuss about the cool things that we could create with an action. By the end of this presentation you should be able to create an action with the resources provided. To open the resources, just scan the QR codes. Let me start by telling you what Github Actions are. Github Actions is a free service to automate tasks within your software development workflow. You can build, test and deploy right from your GitHub repo. Actions are event-driven, meaning that you can run a series of commands after an event has occurred. An event could be a pull or push request. As you can see, they are quite useful and take out the pain of manual running commands on your machine. Instead, these commands are run on automated runners. Now let's take a look at this diagram. It describes how a basic GitHub action works. An event automatically triggers the workflow, which contains at least one job. The job then uses steps to control the order in which actions are run. These actions are commands that automate your software development lifecycle. To understand how they work, we need to learn more about the basic components. As you can see, a GitHub action can be divided in 6 components: workflow, event, job, runner, step, and action. The workflow is an automated procedure that you can add to your repo. Workflows have at least one job and can be triggered by an event. Workflows let you build, test, package, or deploy your project. A workflow file is stored as a YAML file in a specific directory. Next, we have events. Events are specific activities which can schedule or trigger a workflow. An event could be a push or pull request or even a webhook. Events are necessary for a workflow. Jobs. A job is a set of steps that execute on the same runner. Every workflow must have at least one job. Remember, the job is what actually executes. You can see a history of runs in the logs. A step is an individual task that can run commands, known as actions. That's why the actions in the same job can share data with each other. A runner is a server that has a GitHub Actions runner application installed. A runner listens for available jobs, runs one job at a time, and reports the progress, logs, and results back to GitHub. GitHub hosted runners are based on Ubuntu, Linux, Microsoft, Windows, and macOS. Actions are standalone commands that are combined into steps to create a job. Actions are the smallest portable building block of a workflow. You can create your own actions or use actions created by the GitHub community. To use an action in a workflow, you must include it as a step. You can also find actions available in the marketplace. Please take a look at this diagram. It shows how the components interact with each other. Before we can start, you should know a little bit about GitHub. Also, some experience with YAML and shell scripting would be great. If you haven't worked with Docker yet, don't worry. Let's create our first action. For this example, I have created a new repo. By clicking on the action steps, I can create a new workflow. Let's start with a simple hello world workflow. To set up the workflow, we need to click here. GitHub has provided us with some basic workflow. We can give the workflow a file name. The file will be created in the workflows folder. Our workflow has its name CI. The workflow will be triggered when a push or pull event will occur on the master branch. The workflow contains a job called build, which runs on the latest Ubuntu version. And then under the steps keyword, a list of actions will be executed. The users keyword tells the job to retrieve the checkout community action, so you can run action against the code that you have written. Finally, the run commands will execute commands using the runner's shell and display hello world. Now we need to commit the file. Now let's review the results by clicking on the Actions tab. As you can see, our CI workflow is listed. The workflow was executed when we committed our file. The check mark indicates a successful run. Now let's click on the text next to the mark. Here we can see a log of jobs that ran. Our build job was successful, which is indicated by the check marks. Let's see if our scripts were executed by clicking on the arrows. As expected, the one-line script outputs hello world, and the multi-line script outputs that we should add another action to build, deploy, or test our project. Congrats, we have created our first action. Now let's move on to a custom action. let's create our own GitHub action, which will test and build our Node.js project and send a notification on Telegram about the status. For our action, we will use the Node.js template workflow. It will be named Node.js CI and executed if there's a push or pull event. Our build job runs on Ubuntu. The metric strategy that we set up will test and build our app on 3 Node.js versions. The setup node action configures each job with different Node.js versions. Because we use Yarn as our package manager, we change the comments to Yarn comments. The marketplace allows us to find actions by the community. We will use Notify Telegram for our project. Follow the instruction to install the action. View the full marketplace listing and adjust the code. As you can see, we need to add our user ID and token as secrets. First, we need to go on Telegram and get the information. Then we can click on the settings and add them under secrets. Logs, we can see that all 3 versions were built successfully. Now we should receive a Telegram notification with our status. If this was too fast for you, you can scan the QR code to check out the code. Here you can see our code for the workflow. The workflow name is Node.js CI. It will be triggered by a push or pull request affecting the master branch. The build job runs on Ubuntu and will be executed in 3 different node versions. The step keywords indicate a sequence of actions. We tell GitHub to use a checkout action and set up the node action, which will configure our node environment for us and execute the following scripts to test and build. After that, we give the next step a name called Telegram notification. We will use Notify Telegram for that. After that, we will receive a message on Telegram about the build status. This slide is especially important for you if you want to create your own action. Please scan the QR codes to get more information about the workflow syntax and also events and authentication. You might be surprised, but we have covered them in the videos a little bit. The workflow syntax is the basic syntax of the workflow, which is saved as a YAML file. In the videos we have covered the push and pull events already, but there are many more, for example webhooks. Authentication was covered in the last video, where we had to use our Telegram user ID and token as secrets. Please don't forget to store these secrets in the secret settings option. Never store a secret in the workflow file as a plain text. Let's have a look at the workflow and action attributes. The name attribute indicates the name of a workflow. It is not required, but you should have one. The on keyword, that's an event that triggers the workflow. It is definitely required. An event can be a repo event, for example push or pull. Also, events could be a webhooks for branch creation. Additionally, an event can be shaded, but you have to use the cron format. Every workflow must have at least one job. Each job must have a name, which starts with a letter or underscore. The once on attribute tells GitHub the type of runner we want to use, for example Mac, Windows or Linux. Steps. Steps are sequences of actions. You might not know yet, but steps are able to access files. Every step runs on its own process. You can give each step a name. The users keyword tells GitHub which action to use and where it is located. We can use our own action or use community actions on the marketplace. The run attribute allows us to run shell scripts in the runner's environment. Don't worry, you don't need to remember everything. GitHub has provided us with a GitHub Action cheat sheet, which I will show you later. Take your time and have a look at this cheat sheet. If you need to, scan the QR code. Cool things that you can do with GitHub Actions. It is possible to migrate from Jenkins, Circle CI, GitLab CI/CD or Azure Pipeline to GitHub Action. Cool, right? Also, creating your own self-hosted runner is no problem. Self-hosted runners offer more control of hardware, operating system and software tools than GitHub hosted runners provide. Also, it is very possible and recommended to use Docker for your action. You can also share your workflow on the market. The open source community has created some awesome actions, for example Twilio voice collection, the TS-Lint action, the OneNote formatter, Action Discord, MS Team GitHub action, the Netlify action, which I personally use often to deploy my websites on Netlify automatically, or the Publish Docker GitHub action. I can really recommend to check out these projects and maybe contribute to the open source community and create your own action. Have fun! To summarize, automation isn't that hard and you can do it too. Have fun and contribute maybe to the open source community by publishing your own action. Thank you for listening, and now if there are any questions I would be pleased to answer them. This presentation was made by Ngọc Hung Phan and Gong Ding. Just scan the QR codes to find our GitHub accounts. Check out our resources. This presentation was inspired by Mr. Jenkins, who has the GitHub Actions course on LinkedIn Learning.